The Soft and Quiet is a 2022 released mystery horror thriller film in which we are introduced to the character of Emily, which is a kindergarten teacher, and she is now sitting in the toilet right here, and she is really checking if anything is right or wrong. And then after everything work is done, she just gets out of the house where we see she meets one of the kids that is standing at the uh, point. I think he's waiting for something. That is Brian. So they are having a communication right there in which she is asking him about is everything all right about his study as all those things. And at first type, if we just look at the teacher, I think she looks very pleasant kindergarten teacher, and her demeanor is just warm and caring. So she interacts with the young student who just hesitates to leave the classroom, and she reassures that the child and ushers them out with a very gentle smile. However, it doesn't take a long time for the cracks in the Emily's facade to just appear. After cleaning up, she just carefully bakes a pie at home, and that pie just bears a swastika symbol each into its crust. I think this only just brings a question of variety of question in our mind. That what the hell does a swastika symbol even mean in this film? So we will come to know that later. And the Stark's visual just immediately establishes the undercurrent of the extremism that will just drive the rest of the story. Carrying the pie, Emily heads to a church basement and where she is hosting the inaugural meeting of her newly formed group and the Daughters of the Aryan Unity. That is what it is called. So first time I said that even if you hear something about the swastika symbol, it is definitely linked to Nazis. So here we are at the Aryan race, so called, and at that point the audience is introduced to the other members of this collective. That is, we see the Lesile, that is an abrasive ex-convict with a very short temper. I mean, she is really short temper and angry women. And Kim is the owner of a struggling grocery store. And then there are another retail worker, that is the Marjorie. And each woman just brings her own frustrations and prejudice to the table, and they are discussing their day tasks, daily life conflicts, daily life happiness at the same time, just trying to take the things warmer and their grievances from the foundation of their shared ideology, that is the so-called Aryan race. So the meeting at starting just begins as a very seemingly and a kind of family gathering you would expect, and with the women just sharing food, drinks, and laughter at the time. However, their conversation just quickly turns to toxic topics as the film proceeds further because they express anger about perceived injustice such as the affirmative actions and immigration, and which they believe that threaten their way of life or the way in which they should live their life, kind of bringing obstruction to them. And their discussion grows more uh, vitriolic, just exposing their shared sense of entitlement and the deep-seated and the deep-rooted racism actually, because they justify their beliefs by just framing them as a form of self-preservation. That is so wrong. I mean, but that is what it is. And when the church pastor just discovers the nature of their meeting, he intervenes between them and asks them to leave the premises quickly. Although the woman initially acts polite, but their resentment just simmers beneath their surface because Emily invites the group to continue their discussion at their house actually. And from here the things just go a little darker. This is where I think their true intention just begins to manifest. On the way to Emily's home, we see the group make a detour to Kim's small grocery store. So this is the grocery stores of the Kim, which is another lady that is present in their group, and they just go there to pick up some of the refreshment because I think from where they were located at first time in the church location, and everything was I think finished up, so they needed refreshment, so they got to Kim stores. While there, they just encounter two Asian American sisters, that is Annie and Lily. So these were the two ladies actually working there. Annie, who is confident and outspoken outright, notices the group's judgmental glances and confronts them because she was at the I think counter there, and on the counter actually she listens their uh, whatever the belief or whatever the talking they were having, the conversation right there. So this kind of just baffled them, and the tension between the sister and the group is just palpable. And Annie calling out the woman's behavior and certainly just challenging their racist attitudes, because I mean anybody would do the same thing, and she's quite right here. So hats off to Annie actually. And Lily is the quieter of the two sisters and tries to diffuse the situation, just warm up the situation, and trying to take down the tension that is just escalated between the two groups. But her attempts are just unsuccessful. We see as the conversation just quickly escalates into a very heated argument with Lisile and Marjorie just making offensive remarks just and dismissing Annie's criticism that were quite right. I mean, and you can't just go on hitting people and passing very hateful remarks on them. And the sisters eventually leave, but the encounter just leaves a deep mark on the group because there is a slight fight scene between both of them where they are grouping each other, and because the group is large in number, so they overshadow Annie and Lily, and their ego just bruised and their hatred just reignited. They began to plot a revenge against the sister, because this is where the racist ideology and the ego thing come in between. And when they both two or three things are combined, I mean, it's a very uh, dangerous situation. And it is Lisile who proposes that taking things a step further by vandalizing Annie's home. So she sees it as just a way to assert their dominance, assert their ego, to just satisfy their own ego, and kind of send message to them that who is superior and who is superior. Uh, you should act to and respect two people, and kind of give always respect, because they as a group kind of act as a senior, kind of act as a superior race than those of Annie and Lily. While some member of the group hesitate because this is a dumbass idea, but still Emily steps in to reassure them, framing the act as a very harmless retaliation. And the group collective's mentality just overpowers any individual doubt. I think if any of one of them would not disagree, but that doesn't matter because majority of them are agreeing, so they just agree to carry out the plan. So we see that the group just arrives at their house, that is Annie's and Lily's home, which is covered under the darkness. Initially, their plan is to break windows, spray paint, and offensive graffiti, and cause very minor damages that would indicate that they were there. And but however, their actions are interrupted when Annie and Lily just unexpectedly return home. So actually, this was not their plan. So we see that the sister immediately realizes that something is wrong, and when they got to know that the group is just destroying all the things and causing harm to their house, they demand explanation what the hell they are doing there, and this is not the right way to do so. And if they are having any kind of problem, they should discuss with us and not kind of harm the property. So the situation just escalates quickly because the argument just turns physical, with Lazile and Kim just taking the lead in restraining the sisters. So Annie fight backs here, but the group just overpowers her and drags both sisters inside the house. We see at this point the tension just boils over into the outright violence, and the group ties up Annie and Lily, so they are just tied up. And this situation is just a kind of very fearful and dreadful situation because their fear of being exposed driving them to commit increasingly heinous acts. And I think the friend of them, that is Craig, they also joined him. He also joined him in the group, and he was actually at the grocery store when they were just trying to have a heated argument with both of the sisters. So he just brought both of them. Actually, he helped them to brought both of them right there and just tied up them, kind of torturing them. So we see that he just helped him. I thought at first sight he might be on the other side, but came to know that he is on the racist group side. So kind of baffling for me. And we see that outright in the chaos and the mess that is happening all over. So the woman learned that Lily had a severe peanut allergy. So instead of showing compassion, Lizelle uses this information to inflict harm, to cause harm to them, and she forces Lily to consume a snack containing peanuts, and resulting in a very allergic reaction. We can see that, and scene is just, I mean, really brutal, especially the 10 to 20 minutes of both of them just undergoing kind of very much tension and torturous life there. And Lily's condition just rapidly deteriorates, and despite her visible suffering, we see that she is going through such amount of pain. The group does nothing to help her, and they are just enjoying it and kind of saying to them that this is what you deserve. And her death is just both horrifying and unnecessary at the same time, and that just underscores the group complete moral collapse because there is no morality left in them. And Lily's death just sends shockwave through the group, and for a moment there is a silence as they process that what they have done, or is it the right thing they have done? I mean, everybody thinks after the thing is done. So there is silence because they process that what they have done is right or not. And however, instead of facing the consequences, they just decided to cover up the crime. And we see that Annie is still there, and she's just crying over that she has lost her sister. So this is kind of very saddening and hurtful to see that her sister is no more in front of eyes. And you can just imagine, man, the pain of everybody if his or her sister is dying in front of you, and if you cannot do a certain things to even save her. And Emily is once the composed and the rational leader. Right here we see that begins to crack under the pressure, and her desperation just leads her to make irrational decision, and the group follows her lead. I mean, because she's her teacher or something like that, not make sense. But still, in a very final and a devastating act, they decided to kill Annie to eliminate the only remaining witness, because she was only remaining one among both of the sisters. And Annie pleas for mercy are ignored as the group suffocates her, try to just control her. The camera just lingers on her struggle, forcing the audience, I think, to confront the raw brutality of the scene. And the moment just marks the group complete descent into depravity. So they get a very better idea to kind of just dispose the body. They come up with the idea that we should just get the body off in a very kind of a very rare place where no one will find it, and they get the idea that we should dump the body in lake. So there was a lake nearby located there. So to dispose the evidence, so they transport the sister's body to a very nearby lake. So the film just, I think, captures the very eerie silence of the act, and whole of the nature of the film, the tone, and last all the characters were in confusion that what will we do, and even what we can do if we get caught or something like that. So unnecessary thoughts were just lingering in their mind, and with the women working together in a very detached and almost robotic manner, their unity, once rooted in the shared ideology that they have, has now transformed into very collective desperation to avoid the accountability of what they have done. As they drive away from the lake, the weight of their action, I think, just begins to settle on the group, and their commentary just starts to fracture as the guilt, fear, and self-preservation take over them, and they cannot even rationally think that what is right and what is not. Each woman just processes the night's events differently, and Lisa remains defiant, while Kim and Marjorie just seems haunted by what they have done, and they feel kind of very guilt. Emily, who once appeared in control, is now visibly shaken by the event that has taken place, and her life is completely changed after this event, and her confidence is just replaced by paranoia. The film's haunting final events, or the final moments, or the climax of the scene, we see that camera reveals a very chilling twist. Actually, Annie, which is presumably dead, just begins to move, and we see that she just reach out of the water, and her faint breathing and slight movement suggest that she may survive, and she actually survives, and leaving the audience with a glimmer of hope amongst the overwhelming darkness there. And the ambiguous ending just forces viewers like you and me to grapple with the very unresolved consequences of the group's action. Actually, so I finally felt relief. I mean, when I saw the character of the Annie is just breathing and she's there, and even the group didn't know that she survived. So that is, I think, best part of the film. So I think the film is really horrific. It's really, I mean, it just leaves the sparks the things on your mind for a very long time, because the film is not for everyone. And one of the most interesting and important thing that I came to know about the film was entirely shot in one take. So that is very difficult to, I mean, even interpret. And because you can see the raw and real emotion of the each of the character that is in the film, and the film was, I think, definitely great in every aspect. There was not much of it. I think the counterparts were great, the actors were great, pacing was brilliant, and climax scene and nearly scene when they take both of them kidnapped, and the even torture scene were very much brutal. I was feeling for the character. So this was, I think, a really great movie. I think I watched in many of the years I have not seen such movie. I was shaken by the movie, even the idea of this movie, that these are normal people around you and me, but the deep inside they are the true, what we can see, the devil. They are the true with one different ideology and just trying to prove their superiority against the inferior people. So this is just kind of heartbreaking to see that in even today's world some people exist like that. They bring their ideology on the table and they say they are the great and others are not. So this is just very baffling thing that just appeared to me, and film just show beautifully through artistic, through a creatively way that these people are just around you and me. So it is up to you that you should recognize who of them are not, are that kind of people or not. So, and there are very much themes and symbolism in the movie. I mean, it just culminates all of them. I think aspect of this movie is the portrayal of the ordinary individual just committing extraordinary act of violence. Because by focusing on a group of very suburban women, the film actually challenges the stereotypes about who participate in hatred groups, and it demonstrates how extremist ideologies can just thrive in seemingly mundane settings. We see that the film title just reflects its central theme, that is the insidious nature of racism and bigotry. We see the women just present themselves as very polite, very very well-meaning individual, but their action just reveals the devastating impact of their belief. So the duality, I think, underscores the danger of normalizing extremist ideology that is soft and quiet. Throughout the film, we see the group's collective mentality just drives their action. Their shared ideology, I think, create a very sense of unity that just overrides the individual morality because they don't think what is right or what is wrong. So their dynamic highlight just, I think, highlights how hate can just amplify when individual feels validated by others or when there is validation from nearly all of them in the group. So that is what it is. And the swastika pie in the opening scene serves as a chilling metaphor for normalization of the hate. If you know, you know, because it was used by Nazis. So it symbolizes how extremist ideology can be repackaged and presented in a way that just seems harmless but carry a very deep-seated malice. So I think it's not an easy film to watch, and it's always, I say, it's not for everyone, but it is a essential one. It just shows this mirror to the society, and by presenting in its very real time, the film, I think, just immerses us in a very escalating horror and forcing us to just confront the uncomfortable truth about racism and extremism. So I think it's very raw, real, brutal, and unflinching portrayal of hate just serves as a very stark reminder of the dangers of complacency and the importance of standing up against injustice. So this is about the film. If you like such breakdowns, do like and share and subscribe our channel Cinema Shadows for more. Thank you.